To meet together here today, and we ask most humbly for a blessing of our gathering. Brighten our eyes with greater understanding, enrich our hearts with compassion and courage, and again receive our gratitude for this opportunity of fellowship. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. Please be seated. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda tonight?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I would move to delete from the agenda and return to the administration for further work item G1, the ordinance 2142.
Okay. Thank you. Are we doing that like as an official motion to table or just delete from the agenda?
That was the
Okay.
thing I had earlier.
Just simply delete it from the agenda. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Grafstein?
Support.
Thank you. A motion was made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilor Grafstein to delete from the agenda item G1 regarding ordinance 2142. Is there any discussion to delete this item? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries. Are there other additions or deletions to the agenda? All right, let's continue on. There are two public hearings for review tonight. The first is agenda item A1, special approval 1901 at 1044 East 11 Mile regarding rolling cars auto repair. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Yes, special approval is required to allow heavy auto repair facility in the M1 Light Industrial District. The applicant proposes to use the existing 1,412 square feet building for heavy auto and vehicle repair. All aspects of the operation, with the exception of repair vehicle storage, must be conducted completely inside the building. The property is adjacent to single-family residential property to the east and south, and there is an existing 6-foot masonry wall. The Site Plan Review Committee requires the wall to be 8 feet in height per section 10.319 to section 1. The applicant will repair the existing wall and increase the height to meet this requirement. Parking exceeds minimum ordinance requirements, and the hours of operation will be Monday through Friday, 8 to 6. The Site Plan Review Committee has reviewed the plan, and all plan review comments have been addressed. Should City Council approve this request, the following conditions are recommended. All vehicles awaiting repair must be stored inside the building, and all repair work of any kind must be conducted within the building during all phases of work.
Thank you. Before City Council considers this matter, there's a public hearing for special approval 1901 at 1044 East 11 Mile Road, rolling cars auto repair. So I open the public hearing now. Would anyone like to speak for this public hearing for this special approval 1901? No one's asked to be recognized, so I'll close the public hearing. What's the wish of City Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move that the council grant special approval to a facility to be located at 1044 East 11 Mile Road, subject to the conditions indicated by the, or requested by staff.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Scott?
Support.
Thank you. A motion was made by Councilmember Corbett, seconded by Councilmember Scott, to grant special approval 1901 at 1044 East 11 Mile Road, rolling cars auto repair, including the following conditions that were recommended by staff. Is there any discussion from council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Is the petitioner here?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Sherman.
I was walking in to tonight's council meeting and I ran into the petitioner's father. Petitioner's out of town, but his father, who has an interest in this, is present. So he would be happy to answer any questions I'm sure the council
right.
might have.
Okay. I'd invite that gentleman if he'd had any comments. The floor is yours, sir, if you have any comments. Or Mrs. Scott, did you want to begin with some questions?
Yeah, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I just wanted, I know I read the city ordinance that you appear to have followed, but I just want to make sure, because you have two adjacent residential homes, one to the west, one to the east and one to the south, can you assure me that there won't be any noise or smoke or odor factors affecting the residents that are surrounding that area?
Welcome, sir. If you could say your name.
My name is Joe Newport. I'm here for the Sterling Gymnastics.
Oh, I'm sorry.
okay.
So,
I'm sorry, Mr.
I'm
Mayor.
the
My
father
my
of Sterling
confusion.
Gymnastics.
You can answer those questions if you want.
You probably wonder
But we
what...
won't hold you to them.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Swap you
Mayor.
around.
What kind of smell? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Good evening, Doug. Could you state your name?
Mayor, how are you?
Great.
To answer your question, the ordinance, the condition that's being imposed is all the work has to be done in the building. All vehicles waiting. It's a small building, it's a two-bay general
Two-bay,
automotive
right.
repair shop.
Right.
So,
Well, it looks like you have carefully planned everything, but I know there's a city ordinance that shouldn't be any environmental concerns for the residents that are nearby. I just wanted to make sure, before I voted approval, that would be, make sure.
that is clearly the intent.
All right, thank you very
Okay?
much.
You're more than welcome.
Your Honor, if I may ask a follow-up question?
Doug, who is the professional architect, not the owner?
Okay, what level of insulation is in the exterior walls that would offer some sort of sound deadening?
The sound, the building is brick veneer on block, so the building walls are extremely dense. Okay? That's better than having any soft insulation in the wall. Okay? So the walls are essentially concrete block.
Okay.
You will get, if he's using let's say he's using a pneumatic tool, in my opinion, you might, if you're standing next to the wall on the exterior of the building, you might hear a little hum, but you won't hear it going wee like you normally would.
Would the residents in
No,
those residential
no.
properties hear anything?
The position of the building is such that we're 20, 40, we're almost 50 feet away from the property line of the closest residence. It's also the side yard of that residence. Our rear yard, which is for parking, is a side yard of the residence. So we're in good shape. We really are in good shape, so.
Okay. Other, thank you, Doug.
I'll leave it there. Am I dismissed now?
You may leave.
For now.
Thank you.
Other comments from city council? All right, let's vote. All in favor of special approval 1901 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. We have another public hearing tonight. It's agenda item A2. It's special approval 1903. Oh, the motion carries on the last one. So A2, special approval 1903 at 355 East Whitcomb regarding Sterling Gymnastics Academy. Mrs. Marsh, the report.
Special approval is required to allow any type of exercise or training facility in the M1 Light Industrial District. The applicant proposes to use the existing building for a gymnastics training facility with a total of 6,945 square feet. There will be a lobby and a viewing area included. Existing parking exceeds minimum ordinance requirements. There are 18 spaces required and 19 spaces are provided. The hours of operation are Monday through Saturday, 9 to 9. The Site Plan Review Committee has reviewed the plan, and all plan review comments have been addressed.
Okay, thank you. Before city council action, we'll do a public hearing on this. So I open the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak regarding special approval 1903 at 355 East Whitcomb, Sterling Gymnastics Academy? The public hearing's open on this special approval. No one's asked to speak, so I'll close the public hearing. What's the wish of city council?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I move that we grant special approval request 1903, which would allow a gymnastics training facility in the M1 district under section 10.3294 of the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mrs. Scott.
Second.
Thank you. A motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss, seconded by Councilwoman Scott, to grant special approval 1903 at 355 East Whitcomb regarding Sterling Gymnastics Academy. Is there discussion from City Council?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
let's go back to that question on sound and smell, right?
I'm concerned.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of concern up here about that. No, I think this is great for the city. This is exactly the type of business that will drive not only business from the residents here, but it'll also bring new folks into the community who will use this facility. I used to work right over by there. It's a great location for this, and it's definitely needed in the city. So I appreciate I appreciate you coming on behalf of your daughter, right? Son? Yep. Thank him for me. I appreciate that he chose Madison Heights.
Yeah, I think it's good to have additional foot traffic. We have several new restaurants in that neighborhood, so I'm sure those businesses will mutually grow together. Is there other comment from City Council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please.
question on petitioner? I'll be easy on you, I promise.
Could you say your name again, sir?
Joe Newport.
Thank you.
Okay, Joe, can you tell me would this be geared mainly towards children or younger people?
Younger
Or
people.
what are the ages that you can attend?
As young as 2 years old and
Okay.
probably up to 16, but most of them don't by that point, you know, it's
Right.
younger typically, you know, 8, 9 years old are probably the majority.
Okay. And
The
because,
parents drop off typically.
yeah, because you're calling it an academy, do you have any certification or awards for the children for their
My son,
status?
it's his business, and yes, he does. He has all the USA Gymnastics, you know, approvals that he could coach these
Okay.
young kids. And
All right,
Mhm.
good, thank you.
Other questions or comments from City Council? Okay, let's vote. All in favor of granting special approval 1903 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome to Madison Heights.
Have a good night.
Items on agenda of interest to parties in the audience. Is there anything on the agenda someone wants to be brought forward? All right, we'll go to meeting open to the public. Would anyone like to address City Council on any subject? This is the opportunity to do so. If you would like to speak, please identify yourself with name, address, and any affiliation you may have, and be kind to limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Meeting is open to the public on any subject. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, thank you. My name is William Hamilton. I'm the property owner for over 34 years at 26798 Dartmouth in Madison Heights. That's the first house south of 11 Mile on the east side of the street. And this evening, I'd like to speak to the City Council about a special use permit that was granted to the bar Selena's Bar at 623 West 11 Mile Road in Madison Heights. I don't know exactly when it was granted, but it's been a while. Okay. So the reason I've come before you tonight is the problems that the special use permit has started to create for the residents and the well-being of the community. The special permit was for a use of an outside patio, which has morphed into a large outside patio into the parking lot. And that's created, or the owner has modified the building to put large door walls and things inside the building that are open after 11 o'clock, allowing the loud bass noise to emit out of the building. Also, they don't close at 2 o'clock. There's lingering people in the parking lot and on the Dartmouth Street causing fights and trash on my front lawn. Additionally, they've added high-intensity lights to the side of the building, about 10 to 15 feet above the building, that point horizontally and not downward. And I'm asking if that was an approved addition and meets the code for light transmissibility and lumens to the adjacent property. In addition to that, they've recently started having parking lot games where they close the parking lot down, letting people, and then force people to park on the residential street all the way down to Gregg. They're having some type of games there in the parking lot, so they spill over onto the residential streets. They have a barker or some type of announcer with a loudspeaker, which I believe is not in compliance with the special use ordinance, promoting the games. I don't know what time the games end by, or I want to know if that's allowed by the special use permit, Mr. Barry. Also, I have a question. Are they serving alcohol in that open area? I don't believe that's allowed. I haven't personally observed that yet, but I intend to continue to observe that, and I've had a discussion with Corey Hines, the chief of police, about this. I also have some concerns about the safety of the area when they close down the parking lot and everyone's trying to find a different location. There's going to be somebody hurt on that property if there's no parking, and there's people out in the parking lot in an area that cars should be transversing and things like that. I understand a couple weeks ago there was an accident on a property where the sign in front of the building was damaged. I don't know if there's anyone who was hurt, injuries or not, but this special use permit, the patio is approximately 10 feet from the street? Okay, 10 feet from 11 Mile Road. So, you know, I should have the right to live or rent my property to a tenant that would like to live there in peace and quiet. Currently, with the special use permit, I'm not being granted that opportunity. I'm asking you to revisit the special use permit and see if that's still an applicable for the location, given the adverse effects that are being driven by the special use permit. This outdoor parking lot games is new this summer. Last year, we had problems with speakers outside and flashing lights. I came to the city building department and complained about that. That was rectified. But for these reasons enumerated, I'd like to ask or formally request that you revisit the special use permit, if it's still applicable, or if it needs to be amended or revoked for the public safety and the residents in the area. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Very good. Thank you. Would anyone else like to address City Council on any subject? The meeting is open to the public. All right, no one else has asked to be recognized. Meeting open to the public is closed. We can continue on the agenda. The next item for review is Agenda D1 from the City Manager. It's the confirmation of the DPS Director. Mrs. Marsh?
Yes, the position of the Department of Public Services Director became vacant in May of 2019. We were very fortunate to have Corey Almas, who's a skilled and professionally licensed engineer with years of supervisory experience at the DPS, to be serving as the department director since April. With our former director's resignation, Mr. Almas accepted the challenge to serve as the interim DPS director over the past 6 weeks. Based on his successful job performance, interactions with staff, and handling of daily operations, including challenging issues facing the city, I've asked Corey Almas to serve as the director of the Department of Public Services effective July the 1st. He's gratefully accepted, and we are confident that this will be a good fit. So pursuant to Section 3.6 of the City Charter, I would request that City Council confirm my appointment of Corey Almas as the city's Department of Public Services Director.
Thank you. What's the wish of City Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Corbett?
Sir, I move that the council confirm the appointment of Mr. Almas. I have some concerns, but I'll get over it.
It's the tie, right?
It's the tie, yeah, it's always the tie. Anyway, I move that he be confirmed as a permanent DPS director. Good luck, Corey.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor?
Mrs. Scott?
I second that.
Thank you. Motion was made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilwoman Scott, to confirm the city manager's appointment of Corey Almas as the city's Department of Public Services Director. Is there discussion from City Council?
Your Honor?
Mayor?
Mr. Bliss?
I would just like to give our, I guess, depending on the vote, Director Almas a chance to talk about some of the goals that he will have stepping into this position and sharing with the residents some highlights of what we're going to expect from this change. If you'd be so willing to give him the floor.
Uh-oh. Careful, Corey.
Hello.
Careful what you say.
Not much at stake here.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Good evening, Council. I'll just say in response to that, I've been with the City of Madison Heights for almost 7 years. Next week will be my 7-year anniversary. And in that time, I've worked directly under Joe Vitale, former DPS director. And Joe has really set the bar as far as performance and service to the city. He's left some awfully big shoes to fill, and I aim to not miss a beat in stepping into this role. We have a very good staff, and to Joe's credit, he's put the right people in place. Jennifer Cowan at the Active Adult Center is doing a fantastic job over there. Sean Ballantyne, the analyst and planner for the DPW. Chris Woodward, the utility supervisor. Justin Kowalski, the streets and facilities coordinator. And Tom Sadowos, the motor pool coordinator. And I think I'm forgetting a few, but Joe has really shown me the way of providing that customer service to the city of Madison Heights, and I hope I can exceed that bar that he set.
Thank you. Other comments from City Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Yes, I would like to agree with you that Joe was a person who was always responsive to the city's needs and to our citizens. But Corey, you have done a bang-up job to follow him. And he's very well liked by our senior citizens board, serves on there, and he has done some special personal favors for people that had a long time problem And so I know Corey was behind getting that done finally after a long period of time. So by his examples, I think he's a wonderful choice for our services director, and I applaud him, and I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you, very good. Other comments from City Council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please.
I'd like to say that I have the utmost confidence in Corey. I've known him, I think when I did the graduate internship, was it 6 years ago?
Yep.
So nobody wants to deal with the intern, right? So I show up at his office and he's looking at me, but anyhow, he did a fine job and showed me the things I needed to know. They even took me on a tour that was at the George Goon Detention Basin, and we went down into the whatever the dungeon area where it was just incredible. But I'll never forget you guys left me there, and seriously, we're all proud of you, and we know you do a fine job.
Thank you.
Very good. Other comments? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries. Thank you, Corey. The next item for review is Agenda F1. It's a bid award or purchase from the DPS Director regarding Branch Tree Services of Warren, Michigan. Mrs. Marsh?
For the last 5 years, Branch Tree Service of Warren, Michigan has been the city's tree contractor for the general trimming and removal services. These services entail removal of dead and declining hazardous trees, emergency removals or trimming due to storm and vehicle damage, pre-construction removals, and identified sectional maintenance pruning in conjunction with the DPS crews. Unfortunately, Branch informed us that with the rising cost of the post-recession economy they are seeing, they were unable to extend their current year 5-year pricing past the contract term. Staff prepared an invitation to bid for tree trimming and removal services, including a mandatory pre-bid meeting in June the 14th. In this case, only one contractor showed up, Branch Tree Services. Upon receipt of their bid, which was turned in complete and by the deadline, staff compared and proposed the 1-year numbers to the 5-year numbers originally submitted by their competitors 5 years ago to determine if the increase proposed was comparable, and found that Branch has submitted a price which is right in line with the other major companies in the market. Staff would also note that having a sole bidder was not entirely unexpected. In many of our contractual arrangements, we have found that many service industries are generally inundated with work and are unwilling to bid or quote projects which they cannot commit their time to. Based on their high quality of work, dependability, and professionalism over the last 5 years, and their extensive knowledge of the city, staff and I recommend that council award the contract for DPS tree trimming and removal services to Branch Tree Services of Warren, Michigan for the unit prices specified. Funding is budgeted and available.
Thank you. What's the wish of City Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
I move that we grant the contract as recommended by staff for tree trimming and removal services to Branch Tree Services of Warren, Michigan. Don't see it at the unit price is specified. The matter is budgeted and funded.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Scott?
I second it.
Thank you. Motion was made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilwoman Scott, to award the contract for tree removal services to Branch Tree Services of Warren, Michigan for the unit prices specified. Is there discussion from City Council?
Your Honor?
Yes.
So I'm not thrilled that it's a single bid. And frankly, I'm more upset in this scenario that we had the companies that bid the last time, and instead of reaching out to them, it appears that we just took whatever their year 5 bid was from 5 years ago and used that number as the analysis of the current market conditions. Had we reached out to 2 or 3 of those companies and gotten current pricing today, I'd be much more supportive of the fact that this is a single bid, then at least we have some market knowledge and awareness. But I don't think that going with numbers that were submitted, in this case, 5 or 6 years ago, that were based on projections, is a great way to tell what current market rates are. So I will be voting no, and for the sheer fact that this is tens of thousands of dollars, and it's a single bidder without any market analysis done to see whether or not this pricing is correct.
Okay, other comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please.
I would be curious to know why staff didn't reach out to other providers.
Could someone explain how the analysis went, looking at the bids from 5 years ago?
I'll rely on Corey for that, but we do post all of our bids on Mitten, and all of the bidders from last year, or from 5 years ago, are on Mitten, and they do get notices when we post something that's in their category. But you can,
Staff does reach out to the other contractors, companies, in all cases, to let them know that there is an invitation to bid that's posted on Mitten. We do send emails and notify them, but like the report says, it's why they don't show up to the mandatory pre-bid meeting to show their interest. That's, I mean, I can't speak for other contractors. Maybe they've got enough work and where they're at and the communities they're at, but the staff does reach out to, certainly reaches out to as many bidders or many contractors as we can. Why they don't show up or why they don't bid it, that's beyond me.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question/comment. I'm sure most people are aware that we have a skills shortage for these types of jobs. There are many people who are not interested in this type of work, whether it is the garbage pickup or it is the manual labor of cutting down trees. And so I am thinking that this may be a situation, and Mr. Almus, I'm asking your professional opinion if you would agree with this, that these companies do not have the capacity to take on more work, and if they were to put out, to do a bid, they would be completely overpriced because they're not able to fulfill the contract. Would that perhaps be a reason?
Yeah, that seems to be the tendency. When contractors are secure in their industries or what they're doing, in my experience, you see inflated unit prices. Because if they, by chance they get it, then it's icing on the cake, so to speak. If they've got enough work that they can handle, then they will typically inflate their unit prices to go elsewhere. Again, I don't know, and I don't want to speak for Jay Chart in Royal Oak or Mike's tree surgeon, who we've had previously, as to why they didn't show up to the pre-bid meeting or even opt to even bid as a result of that, or couldn't bid as a result of that. So again, I don't know. It's a valid question as to even in comparing unit prices, and I think that's a question that we could certainly research and investigate. Where are the unit prices? And I don't want to speak. I don't know that wasn't done, but I don't have that in front of me right now. I don't know what in comparison to what other municipalities' unit prices or what they're paying for unit prices for the service that we're getting from Branch Tree Service in Madison Heights.
Okay, one more question. If this does not pass, what will be happening with this then? We will not have any kind of service, or you will, what?
Yes, we will not have, the contract is expired, and we will not have tree service other than what the DPS can provide. Now, there's certain scope of down or damaged trees that I don't feel confident or comfortable with DPS staff handling. Our staff does an amazing job within our limitations. On a more serious situation where there's potential for safety issues to the public, safety issues to private property, that's where we call in the professionals. And we have all the confidence in Branch Tree Service. We've had great success with them. They respond. Their response time is amazing, and their customer service is amazing. And nothing but great things to say about Branch Tree Service.
Sorry, I do have one more question. So based on that, if we do not have tree service other than what our staff can do, the limited amount of work our staff can do, and we were to run into more than maintenance that needs to be done, and we have an emergency type situation, then you would be in a position where either our staff, who doesn't sound like they quite have the qualifications to do some of the specialty work, would be doing it, or we would be going out and paying emergency type prices.
We would, it's my understanding and belief that Branch would respond and bill us accordingly. There's no reason for me to believe otherwise. In an emergency situation, if it's contracted work, if it's proposed tree removal or tree pruning, then I'm sure that they would rather be under contract.
Your Honor,
Yes.
if I may on a follow-up. So my challenge here is not necessarily where we're at today, it's how we got there. I acknowledge they've done good work for us, and I know that they are the sole bidder, but a lot of it's speculation at this point. Why did nobody else bid? Well, it could be because of the pre-bid meeting. That could have the potential. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but to me, the biggest challenge I have is the lack of due diligence on current market pricing, whether it's with existing contracts with other municipalities or with contracting or contacting those vendors to get current pricing just over the phone could have happened today and just been sitting here in front of me, and I would have supported it because then I'd know that we did the due diligence. But here we're spending tens of thousands of dollars and none of that due diligence was done. It just, to me, is a challenge, and I get that it puts us in a real bind if this doesn't pass tonight. I appreciate Councilor Grafstein's line of questioning, and it was insightful, but I still can't support it because it sets a precedent that I don't like of us not doing due diligence to make sure that our residents are paying market price.
Well, if I may.
Yes, please.
The best unit price doesn't always provide the best service for the residents.
Would agree with that too, but we don't have the other unit prices, so I can't even make that argument right now.
Well, the idea or the intent of the pre-bid meeting is to show us, show DPS staff the level of commitment that the contractor. If a contractor can't show up to a pre-bid meeting, then what's to say that they can't show up to a down or emergency tree situation? And that's kind of the point where we want to see their level of commitment to coming in, even to showing up and having a discussion or a conversation of what's expected in this contract. Now, we've had Branch Tree Service for 5 years, and they showed up to the pre-bid meeting. They were there. They were the only contractor there. And you're right, the due diligence, and I'm not saying that was not done. I'm just saying I don't have the information in front of me of what, and it wasn't provided in the report, of what is JHR charging the city of Royal Oak or city of Birmingham. What is Mike Tree Surgeon charging in, I believe Warren is where they're at. That I don't know. And I don't know what their comparison in their unit prices and how they have it structured in other cities. So I can't answer that for you right now, but I can provide that information for you.
Appreciate that. And regardless of whatever this vote is, if going forward, any type of a contract like this with an external contractor, especially if it's a sole bid, we have nothing else to go on unless we do that additional research to find out what market is. So I would like to have that included in every one of these reports prior to a vote. In this case, if you could get it to me afterwards, that would be appreciated, but I will still vote no on this tonight, certainly.
Thank
I
you.
would
Other
just like
comments?
I would just like to say, I agree, it would be nice to have the other bids prior to the vote, but we don't have a guarantee that what's being charged in another city will be charged here, because it is possible that they just don't need the work, they don't want the work, it's too much, and taking on another city, another project, another workload would force them to be paying overtime and things like that, that would make it not a comparable price. They would have to charge us more in order to compensate their employees or hire more employees, but it would be nice to be able to see.
Certainly.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Probably the least compelling part of Mr. Bliss's argument is the idea of not having gotten competitive bids. The reason being is because the pricing structure is largely proprietary and it's wholly dependent upon the contract specifications. I would be much more comfortable if the fifth year, which was structured around our initial contract with them, if what now you said it was within play of that, the fifth year. What can you give me a rough number estimate of what those two numbers look like? I saw it and I don't remember it.
Yeah, I have it right here.
What the fifth year would be?
It's 38, let's say, for example, the removal and stumping and cleanup from year 1 to year 5 is $38.
Okay. And what are we, on the other part, what is it?
I'm sorry?
On the other, that's what it is, or that's what it would have been in year 5?
That's what
Or
it would
that's both?
That's what it'd be in year 5.
Okay. Yeah, so that really is my point, is you don't have in these situations the contract. Now, you can call somebody up and tell them, what are you going to charge me to take down a tree and bore it? But that's completely without context. So, you know, like I said, if you want to do a survey of other communities, that's fine, but you better leave a pretty, and that's perfectly reasonable, but you better leave a pretty wide margin for that. Because let's just say in Birmingham, they're getting $32.
I'm sorry, the difference between...
Oh, it's 38?
It's $38.
Yeah, but the total together was...
The total cost for a removal, let's see here, the total cost for removal from size 1 to 10 inch is $300 in year 1.
Okay.
And it's $338 in year 5.
Okay, I see where you were going with that. All right. Well, regardless, 338, and Birmingham, let us say, is getting 330. That doesn't really tell me a lot, other than we're in the ball game. So I mean, we have to apply a little business sense here too, and I certainly respect the effort, but I think we've got to. And by the way, no, we're not leaving this room tonight without somebody getting a contract to remove tree stumps in this community. So, but I appreciate all that. But I think that the single bidder scenario which we're faced with is tricky. It's tricky for us sitting up here because we've got people we've got to answer to.
Right.
But like I said, if we're within range of 5, and by the way, get used to this idea about single bidders and no bidders and limited bidders. That's across the board right now, especially in those lower and entry-level median type work like this and some other things that we're involved with and we will be involved with. So, you know, get used to that. We're going to have to gather as much information as we can, but we have to use a little bit of judgment in rationing out what it is we're looking at. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may just add to the point, in my experience, and I've been around trees for quite some time in my professional career, and to see a contractor provide a 40-inch plus size tree and tree removal in year 1 to be less than $2,000 is pretty impressive. In year 5, to be $2,200 and change, again, that's a very, very good unit price for the volume of trees that we do in Madison Heights and the species of the silver maple and what we're dealing with in the city. And I think even just in seeing that and with the sole bidder, we were confident that we weren't going to beat that price anywhere. And that might be a reason also that other contractors understand what Branch is doing and how they're doing it, and the service that they provide. They can't compete with it. And so, but again, I'm not saying that that we shouldn't reach out to see what the unit prices is in other communities. But we saw these unit prices, and even though they're greater than what they were in the last contract, they're still great unit prices of what they're providing.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say that the reason I'm going to vote for it is because exactly that. I put my trust in DPS, and we always have been. In the last 6 years, correct me if I'm wrong, but this cannot be the first scenario where we had a single bid situation scenario. I mean, impossible.
No, it's not, but we've had recently, we've had single bidders and gone out, back out to bid, simply because their unit prices were exorbitantly high. So we did go out to, go out to bid again, and that worked in the city's favor.
But that was because of your discretion, and your
Certainly.
DPS saw that
Yep.
and said, well, hey, this doesn't look right. Let's
Right.
go back out, so.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
But that was 4 or 5 years ago. That wasn't, we're doing a little bit less of that, going back out to bid with confidence we're going to get extra bids right now. Well, I guess it depends on the industry and the vendor.
Yeah, no, it's,
The vendor
there-
class, but-
there's no,
Yeah.
even in the previous example, there was no guarantee that we're going to get more than one bidder
But
again.
I remember 10, 12 years ago, we would do that, and we just sort of widen the net a little bit. Take Mr. Bliss' idea, knock on a few more doors, and next thing you know, we've got prices driven down by 10%. But the basic business economics of this is not how it's working today.
Right.
If you've got a vendor who will work with you, you're probably better off, because the market can be very cruel these days,
Right,
as we're about to find out in a number of ways.
that's right.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
being a former recreation employee, when I did work for the city, I heard the name Branch Tree Service from Jerry Zarugian, the park foreman. Corey, is it possible that we've used them more than 5 years? Because I worked about 18 years ago, I was here, and I heard that name quite often from guys at the garage.
In my 7 years, when I first got here, we were using Brian's Tree Service, a
Okay.
local company. From that point, we went to Mike's Tree Surgeon, and I think we had them for a brief moment. And then we went with Branch Tree Service after that. I think that we've progressively gone uphill and we're in a very, very good situation with Branch. I'm very happy with the service that they provide.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Other comments from City Council? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries 6-1. We deleted from the agenda ordinances G1, so we can skip ahead to the minutes. What's the wish of City Council regarding the first set of minutes?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
So I move that the council approve the special meeting minutes of 6/24/19.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Soltis.
Support, please.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding the minutes from the special City Council meeting of 6/24/19? Okay, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. What's the wish of council regarding the second set of minutes?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Gettings?
move that we approve the council meeting minutes of 6/24/19.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your
Mr.
Honor,
Mayor?
Oh, yeah, Mrs. Scott.
Mrs. Scott?
I support.
Oh, okay. Is there discussion regarding the second set of minutes from 6/24/19?
Your Honor?
Yes.
There's an adjustment that needs to be made in the wording regarding the approval or the concurrence with the environmental council's recommendation. Mr. Sherman, can you smooth out my language there, sir?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the item is in CM 19-218, Sacra versus Madison Heights. I think the motion made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilwoman Scott, should read to concur with the recommendation of Special Environmental Counsel and the City Attorney made in closed session. That's the substance of it. It was not an agreement. It's a concurrence with our recommendation made in closed.
Okay, Mr. Gettings, would you modify your motion to adopt the minutes with that one correction?
I have no problem with that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mrs. Scott, do you agree
I
with your
second
support? Okay. Is there any other discussion regarding the second batch of minutes from 6/24? All right, let's vote. As amended, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The motion carries. Are we keeping all appointments to August I got a memo that we're,
Unless there was something special the council wanted to do, that was the idea.
so the idea was to have a special appointment party in August.
Yes, under the new policy.
I'll bring the balloons.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
just to clarify, are we publicizing then on social media and potentially in local papers about the applicants for the open positions?
Yeah, it's the plan to work with Cheryl to do a push for all the vacant positions.
Cool.
And then the people that have applied, they will stay on the list, so the applications we currently have aren't being tossed out, but they'll be considered with everybody else that applies.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we don't have an executive session tonight, so before we adjourn, I'd invite any closing comments. I'd like to begin, Mr. Corbett.
I was going to incorporate Mr. Hamilton, the gentleman who was at the microphone earlier, and ask for a report to council by the staff on the issues he raised. But I was thinking as he was talking, and I'm not sure if I need to ask the noxious weed commissioner or the city administrator, does his department have the, if we were going to send out a code enforcement officer, they work like 9 to 5 or some variation of 9 to 5, correct?
Yes.
Do they have the ability, do you have the ability to schedule special for an evening run? Because he was describing things that were happening after hours. And even though we talk about the police, some of the code issues would not, I mean, the police can show up, I guess, but it's really more code enforcement's department, but they're home watching Dancing with the Stars at that point.
Your Honor, we actually just filled a part-time code enforcement officer position that is targeted for evenings and weekends. And we also do have some overtime hours for our regular code enforcement officers that they can come in and do some targeted after-hour code enforcement.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that because I remember a few years ago when Mr. Clark was here, and it's happening again, I see on TV, seniors especially are being hit on the weekends by these fly-by-night contracting operations that come in and say, I see some loose shingles on your roof, and they go up and splatter some tar down and charge them $500. And that's apparently back on the rise again in some of our neighboring communities. So I'm glad to hear that then. That is all I have this evening, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bliss?
Yes, Your Honor. So really excited about the completion of the mural. For anybody that hasn't seen it, please pop over to Civic Center Park and take a look. But I got an incredible amount of comments and direct messages about how it changed the entire look of the park. That those that were there for the festival, there were a lot of pictures taken by it. I had friends that took pictures of the kids in front of it, and it just changes the entire place. And so I'm really excited about that and incredibly thankful because that was done with a group of volunteers and the donations of generous Madisonites residents and businesses. So it's a really cool story. There's about 10 days left of voting to be able to make sure that story is told at the MML conference. The Arts Board is up for an award, and so if you can take a moment today and every day between now and I believe the 17th and vote for the Arts Board, it would be appreciated. Right now, as far as the community voting goes, we are in second place out of, I think, 19 communities, driven by all of those votes that are coming out. Now, that's only a quarter of the entire judging qualifications, but it's still nice for us to finish as strong as possible. I don't see any reason with the residents we have, with our social media following, that we can't get into that first place, into that top spot. So I would ask anybody watching to please vote. Staff has done a great job of continuously publishing that on social media, so we just need to continue that, and perhaps if we want to, in the closing stretch, run a small, like $10 Facebook ad to be able to push that out to anybody who follows the City of Madisonites page. But please vote there. And then the other thing I wanted to ask tonight, other than everybody to vote, the Arts Board was blessed with one of the strongest student reps in any board that I have ever seen growing up in this city. And that is Harley Mordarski. She has just graduated, so she's not going to be able to come back. So I would really like it if we could offer a congratulatory and appreciation certificate and resolution to her, invite her family out if possible, and present that at a future council meeting prior to her leaving and going to college. Because it's very rare that a high school student in our city can have the level of impact that she did. The amount of work and effort that she put in, not just for that mural, but for all the arts programming, is astounding for a high school student. And I want to make sure that that appreciation is shown and noted from this body.
Thank you, Mr. Bliss. Anything else?
That's it, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Gettings?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just want to thank Corey and the rec department and all the businesses that contributed for the fireworks. Again, it was a very successful festival, well attended, and it's hats off to the city and all the workers that did a fine job. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. City Attorney, Mr. Sherman?
Mr. Mayor, just want to say congratulations to Corey Almus on his appointment as Director of DPS. Wish him the best of luck. Look forward to working with him. And I hope everyone had a nice holiday weekend.
Thank you. City Manager, Mrs. Marsh?
Yes, I'd like to do a push for the Citizens Academy. It's almost filling up. We only have 4 spots left, so if anybody's interested, they need to sign up probably this week or it's going to be closed. We're anticipating a great program again. Last year it was excellent. It's a great way to learn what goes on in your city behind the scenes. It's a great way to learn how your city services are financed, and it's a great way to learn how you can get involved. So if anyone's interested, it's all over my Facebook page. It's all over the city's Facebook page. It's all over our website. And also thank you to Corey for accepting the DPS director job. I'm positive he's going to do a great job. And I would also like to say thank you to Linda Williams. So this is her last week at the City of Madison Heights. For those of you in the business community, I know you know her well. She is moving on to stay in Madison Heights at a private company, and we wish her well.
Thank you. City Clerk, Ms. Prince?
No comments, thank you.
Ms. Grafstein?
Yes, so to echo what Mr. Gettings said regarding the festival in the park, it was beautiful weather and tons of people and lots of things to do, and I would like to thank everybody who came to our table for the plant exchange. We started with 3 tables full of plants and seeds and odds and ends, and I took home a very small amount of seeds with me and a sprinkler afterwards. So thank you to everyone who came and participated in that. I do think if we do it next year, we need to get more people donating items. It was fine that nobody did bring, but I think maybe the logistics of just getting things there, we can figure that out. But I do appreciate everyone who came and participated in that. One of the things I would like to see, I don't know if it would be possible to do it this year, but hopefully, Mr. Hicks, I'm going to put you on the spot and see if we can do some kind of a citywide garage sale, similar to one that they do in Huntington Woods. I know that 8 years ago, 10 years ago, the city did a garage sale where we had our parking lot. I think it was a Saturday, and people could rent out a spot in the parking lot, and that seemed to work well. I only remember having it one time, but what I was thinking was the way that they do in Huntington Woods is that the city collects the addresses of everyone who wants to participate. They charge a $3 or $5 nominal fee, and the only thing that the city has to do is collect the addresses and do up a map and a list. So it's not, other than the collecting of that information, there isn't a lot of work for the city. There's nothing for them to set up. There's no extra time needed. It's just a matter of having the list, and then residents who do want to participate can pick up their sign and write their address in it. And we would do it over a weekend, the end of August, because it's already almost the middle of July when I'm suggesting this. But it's just something that I'd like to see if we can do it, and if I'm asking for this too late, then maybe we could do it in the spring. But I notice that, I know with my neighbors, whenever one person says they're gonna have a garage sale, another person will put things out and someone else will say, oh, if I'd known, I would have put things out as well. So I find that these seem to do well, and Vincetta subdivision does them once a year. So if that's something that we can look into, that would be great. Also want to touch on the situation that we were discussing earlier with the single bidder. And I've been working with SEMCOG on a work skills task force for the last year and just waiting for them to come out with their report. But basically, it's something that a lot of people already know. It's really hard to find skilled labor, and it's hard to find the lower skills as well. Myself, generation before me, generation after me, so many people have been programmed that you need to go to college, you need to become a doctor, a lawyer, some kind of professional. If you're not in a suit, you don't have a real job. And that's just not true. And so what we're seeing is a real shortage of electricians and plumbers, tree trimmers, garbage pickup, just the trades. And there is starting to be movement on that. There's starting to be a bit of a push, but one of the companies that was showcased during one of our meetings was actually GFL. And just some of the things that they do, they work with returning citizens who can't get certain jobs, but they can drive a garbage truck if they can be trained to do that, and they can pick up garbage. So things like that, they could probably be, these people could probably be trained to cut the trees as well. But people don't want that job because it's still this mindset. So just something for people to keep in mind with that. The other thing is, it was about a month ago, Mrs. Marsh had a meeting, Mr. Almus was there, I was there, and it was with GFL, and it was with their new director of operations, I believe. And so I sat in that room, and everybody was new from when we had done the contract a year ago. So just to refresh everyone's memory, we have been having issues with GFL for well over a year. And last year, when we looked at doing an extension, one of the concerns from myself as well as others was that we're renewing a contract with people who aren't even doing the job they're supposed to. And we were told certain things, and however that went, and we renewed the contract because of what we were told at the time. But a big reason that we renewed the contract was because we had residents who were asking to use the larger toters. And the contract we had with GFL stated they will not pick up those toters, but they were doing it. So they were doing something above and beyond what they were supposed to do. And in order for our residents who wanted to use the larger toters to be able to use the larger toters, we had to renew the contract. They weren't just going to make that one change. So we did. We renewed that, and we've had our peaks, and we've definitely had our valleys. Back at Memorial Day, I think my pickup was 4 days late, and that's about when these new talks came about. And without getting into the details of that discussion, city manager notified council that following week she would be meeting with the director of operations from GFL, and I invited myself to that meeting. And this gentleman pretty much spoke for an hour and a half and was telling us everything that was going on, giving us all his solutions. And Mr. Almus, you had my vote right then that I thought you would do a good job for DPS director, because the way that you handled yourself in that meeting, and I didn't go to the previous meeting, so I don't know, but what we had in that room was we had our new city manager, we had a gentleman who is now our new DPS director. We also had from GFL somebody new. This guy started a couple months ago, and he worked his way up. He used to pick up trash, and now he's in management, so he knows. And I think that given what he was telling us, and given conversations I've had with residents in other cities, not all of whom use GFL, the issues that we have been having aren't a Madison Heights GFL problem. They're, I'm sure that everyone here knows people in other cities who have the same problems. And if not, if there's someone who lives somewhere in the general area who nobody complains about their garbage, no one ever gets picked up late, no one ever gets missed, I would love to hear who that company is and what that city is, because I talk to people all the time, and I talk to representatives from other waste haulers, not just from GFL, and the issues they have are systematic issues and logistic issues that they're now trying to address. And from what I've seen, from what this gentleman told us, I see some of these issues being addressed. Not all of them, but things aren't going to change overnight. My garbage got picked up at, I think, 6 o'clock the other night. Our contract is that it will get picked up by 5. The street signs say 4, and a lot of people think because the street sign says 4, the contract is 4. It's not, it's 5. So keep that in mind. When your garbage is getting picked up after 4, it's not late. Pick up after 5, which is what I had, it's late. I hope DPS is keeping track of that still. I know at one point they were, and I know when we renewed the contract last year, I asked, can we put in some kind of fine or some kind of rebate every time they are late, or if they're late X number of times, because we all know that something might happen, and I was told no. I know that council has asked to look to see if they are in breach. I'm pretty confident they are, because they're late. They are still late. That they are going to be in breach. I don't know that it's worth it for us to go out to bid. It might be, but if we are going to renegotiate any kind of contract with them, I want that in the new contract, and I want to be on record that if we do have some kind of new contract with GFL or whoever, that we have that in there so that they know and they're held accountable, because that's going to hurt them a lot more than us having to take them to court for being in breach of contract. And I don't know that they do it in Michigan, but in Florida they do that. There are places where the company will get fined X amount for every house they miss. So we need to look at having something like that in our new contracts if we go out to bid. Hopefully, we can just work this through, knowing that there are, these issues are being addressed. That's it.
Very good, thank you. Mrs. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to wish a happy belated birthday to our city manager, Melissa Mars. Thank you. I read my mail, see, and look at Facebook. And also, congratulations to our city clerk, Cheryl Prince, sorry. That's okay. Who is now a newly married woman, and I'm sure very happy, as is her husband. I wanted to make sure that the residents knew about some of the activities at the Madison Heights Active Adult Center on Thursday, July 11th, between 9 and 2 o'clock. There will be a card and book sale, so if you're looking for summer reading material, you'll find it there. And also, if you want to get a head start on your Christmas cards, you'll be able to buy them there as well. Their open house, by the way, is going to be held 2 weeks from tonight. That's July the 22nd. That will be between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. So you can, if you dash over, you'll be able to still make the council meeting that night. But there will be an open house, so you can find out everything you would like to know about our Active Adult Center. Also get a free ice cream sundae and listen to the banjos of Michigan and take a tour of the building and meet all the wonderful people that work there. Also on the same day, Monday, July 22nd, starting at 10 o'clock in the morning, our seniors will be going out to judge the yards and landscaping of all of our residents. And as you know, we have special prizes, and they get a special announcement and honored at our city council meeting. I know that people are out there. It's been a late start, but people are out there working on their yards. And we want to make sure that we acknowledge their hard work and the pride that they take in their landscaping. So if you will please have your lawn prepared, pull all the weeds, and have them prepared by 10 o'clock that morning on Monday, July 22nd. We'll come by. And don't forget, you can nominate anybody that in your neighborhood that you think has done an exceptional job. You will do that by calling the Recreation Department at 589-2294, or you can also nominate yourself, especially if you've worked hard and you know that you would like to have recognition for that. So please have your yards ready for viewing that morning. And also, if some of you have been looking around the city, you may have found some of our kindness rocks, which were hand-painted by our Active Adult Center and the help of our Arts Board. They are little rocks that are planted all over the city, and it's fun to find them. They are going to have some kind of a cute little message on them regarding kindness two others. So if you find one of the rocks, you can either take a picture of it and make sure that you report it to the city that you found it, or you can pass it on to somebody and spread your kindness that way. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Soltis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just amazed that we're going to get out of here before 9 o'clock in the last 6 months. But
We're not out yet.
After,
Take half an hour.
thank you, Councilman. So after I did that child poverty report and then the child abuse and maltreatment, I thought about doing a diaper drive. I know it sounds kind of maybe a little silly, but I'm a father of 3, and I remember how expensive it was, diapers and wipes and you know, everything that goes with it. So there were some ladies that, or actually a particular lady that donated already, and quite a bit, in fact. I really appreciate that. So I reached out to one of the private child care facilities here in Madison Heights, and she was amazed, you know, to partner with us, because then we would help out, you know, given the moms there. She said at least 75% of them receive some type of income assistance, low income assistance. So the need is out there for sure, and that's just one facility. So I'll reach out to the rest of them, and we'll have some type of diaper drive. The women's club said they would help out with that in a certain way, so I'm looking forward to that. With my job, I drive a lot on the road locally too, and I tell you, I see more jaywalkers now than I have in a long time, and we've had fatalities for jaywalkers. One was on a motorized scooter, a senior citizen. I just don't understand. I think maybe we need to do some type of public service announcement or some type of study, because everywhere you look, people are crossing, and it doesn't matter what time of day. It's in the height of traffic, and they stand right in the middle of the lane or waiting to cross. It's another disaster waiting to happen. So I think we should really come together and figure out a way to address that issue. I don't have an answer. I mean, I think it's more complicated than that, but another issue that I see seems to be more prevalent now is the, I wouldn't say panhandlers, but the ones that are asking for food and money, which is a sad situation. I know we have an ordinance that we can't send them away, and I don't think we should. I think maybe we should do some investigating and somehow we can help those individuals, because if you go out there at John R. and 14 Mile Road, in our section, there's a pathway that they engrave. I mean, it's dug into the ground. It's every day, all day that they're out there. So, and then I saw a younger homeless person just around the corner here. So I really like to see if we can do something to address that issue. You know, it's obvious that if they're homeless, they're not necessarily a Madison Heights resident, but they're still in our city, and I think we have an obligation to at least try and do something. Because if you look, there's young and old, and I just don't want us to act like they're invisible. Also, I want to shout out to the police undercover special investigations unit. They arrested recently a really bad dude, so they're doing a great job. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Soltis. Yeah, regarding the homeless, that is a societal tragedy, and some of us actually met one of the homeless people a couple weeks ago, and she was a victim of domestic violence, which put her in a really tragic state of affairs as she sought to protect herself and her child. And I think it'd be very enlightening for our city to, like you said, not ignore the people who are in our city begging, right? There must be some underlying cause in their life that led them to that position. And I agree with you. I think we should put together some sort of committee, commission, or panel to understand the people in our city, what they're struggling with. Maybe we can pull some broader themes that can educate our response. But at least at the simplest form of just recognizing their dignity as human beings and residents of our city without an address. But you're spot on, Mr. Soltis. I think we need to explore that further. For jaywalkers, you're striking a couple notes in my heart tonight. Some of us drive up and down North Telegraph, and I don't know if it's Waterford or Pontiac. They've installed several of those pedestrian oases, just before you get to the county complex on North Telegraph. They put 3 or 4 of those. I know they're expensive, but that must have been a collaborative project, probably between different road agencies. And DeQuinder, from last I heard, our DeQuinder Road is owned or controlled by Macomb County Roads. Maybe it's worth just asking them again if there's a new will to plan for DeQuinder. I'm suspecting you're thinking about a lot of the jaywalkers on DeQuinder without a safe way to cross the road. So maybe we could study what has happened on North Telegraph and renew our talks with Macomb County Roads or whoever's responsible for DeQuinder Road. Been walking my licensed dog around the community, and people pull me aside and say that they're following the issues of the city. And some of the things that I hear repeated over and over again is the people I speak to are very proud of our city employees. They're really excited about the new leaders in our city, city manager at the top. But everyone is in love with our public safety departments. They love that we have full-time professional police. They understand what advanced life support means in our fire department and our ambulances. And they have just a glow to their face when they talk about Department of Public Services. And there is such confidence in these departments that I regularly see, that I regularly hear from. But on the other side, there is a complete lack of respect and a complete disillusion. What am I trying to say? People have no faith in GFL or our waste hauling contractor. It's one of those things where people they've just given up. Like, there's almost a joke in other areas of our life, there's always going to be a wait at Secretary of State if you actually have to go in person, right? Just something part of life that you just give up on fighting. Secretary of State will never be faster. Or if you want a milkshake from McDonald's, the machine will always be broken, right? There's just some things you just give up on. And I'm hearing from our residents, they've been so frustrated with our waste hauling contractor that it's beyond confusion or disrespect. They've just given up. They know it's terrible. And it saddens me that is our reality, that our contractor has developed such incredible bad habits, and at least publicly at this council or in the papers has not specifically outlined publicly how they're actually going to change things. It seems like every 6 months they'll tell us they're going to change things, but nothing has changed. Season after season, it's the same problems, and they blame everyone else. And it's humiliating that I think it's our largest contract as a city. And our largest contract, the biggest chunk of taxpayer money goes to just a complete disaster of an operation. And our residents deserve better, and I'm afraid they won't even ask for better because they've just given up. So I'm not going to let GFL go, or if it's another company. I demand answers publicly, and I really feel that giving them another season, another month, bringing another supervisor, time's up. I mean, this company has developed bad habits. There's a bad corporate culture with GFL, and I think the only way they respond is through force, and that's why I renew my demand for a lawsuit or at least a legal opinion to explore aggressive legal measures to get their attention, because the lip service they're paying us behind the scenes is not changing anything. And our residents deserve better. Our money should be spent better. And it's time that we get a hammer and hammer out what we want in this city for waste hauling. We have to be assertive. Now, back to the positive that I hear as I'm walking my licensed dog around the city of Madison Heights, is people are really proud of the development that's happening in our city. And I think it's because we speak about it so often at these meetings, and they see it driving around town, the new licenses, new businesses, and our residents are very aware of what's happening in our business corridors. People regularly talk about how exciting it is that we live in such a diverse economy, a culturally diverse economy with 200 Asian-owned businesses. People are excited that there's the market for a new grocery store, wholesale store like BJ's. They're excited to see that millions of dollars of private investment at 12 and John R. People are anticipating a large investment from medical marijuana. They put a pin in their calendar to check up on that. And people all around the city, all four corners of the city, are excited about the slow and steady growth of our downtown development district. And if you didn't know, there's a brewery that had a soft opening in the Farnham Plaza. And so people are excited as they see the business market changing in our city. And this is just some of the feedback I get as I walk around town. And one last story, because I promised him I would announce this a month ago and I forgot. There's a guy we all know, his name is Mike P. He doesn't want me to say his full last name. He had a funny scam or maybe a miscommunication. It was a weekend day, hot sunny day, and two young men, he estimated 18 to 24, he couldn't tell. They said, hey, we're Boy Scouts or some sort of volunteer project for scouts or school, and we're going to clean your yard for free. But first, can you get us some water and can you get us some lunch, and then we'll finish the work. And so we ordered them a pizza. The boys ate the pizza and they disappeared. No work done. So maybe their mother called them home and they couldn't finish the work. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. But that would be a pretty creative scam. So be on the lookout if the scouts, alleged scouts, are going around asking for a free pizza and they'll rake your yard for free. I don't know why I said this, but I promised that I would announce this publicly. This gentleman was very concerned there may be something larger afoot. But other than that, thanks to all of our employees and the sponsors for the pre-4th of July Festival in the park. It was fantastic. With that, I don't think there's any other business before City Council, so the meeting is adjourned.